Hey everyone, it's Megan at Rogers Reads. Thanks for coming to hang out with me for a few minutes. So I'm going to do my Booktubeathon wrap-up. I did read 6 books, based technically fulfilling six challenges. I mean, technically, I can't speak today, fulfilling 5 challenges because the 6th book I read was my 7th book choice, but yeah. So anyway, I had a lot of fun. I didn't do video challenges well, I did my shelfie for the 7th Instagram challenge, but I just didn't get around to it. It's been a bit of a crazy week. Technically I did all this in like 6 days because on, I think it was Tuesday, I might have read 2 pages because I did not get any sleep. Okay, I got 3 hours sleep on Monday night, so I really wasn't not good for much of anything. And I had to drive around. We had a couple appointments on Tuesday, so I really didn't get anything read. So this basically all got done in 6 days instead of 7. So the first book that I started was Scarlet by Marissa Meyer. This was my Read a Hyped Book choice. I read this with Ginger at Sporty Gamer Reads. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, just like I gave Cinder. At first I said I liked it maybe a little bit more than Cinder, but I'm gonna say I liked it about the same amount. I just liked different things about it. I liked the relationship between Scarlet and Wolf a little better because I feel like in Cinder we didn't get a whole lot of Cinder and Prince Kai. But in Cinder, I think the plot line a little bit better, like the details of what was going on. But anyway, I really liked it. I'm looking forward to moving on to Cress, which I believe I'll also be buddy reading with Ginger, probably in a few months. The next several books are short books that I sort of read simultaneously during the middle of the week. Yeah. So, and Spunk I read all throughout the week because it's short stories. So I read Kevin for the Read a Book Entirely Outdoors challenge. This is a short story novella, if you want to call it that. It's only 58 pages. This was written by K.D. Reed, aka Kim from Kim Here. And Kim was sweet enough to just send this to me along with a couple other books because I sent her a book. But this was not like, she didn't send it to me for my opinion or anything like that. So this is about Kevin Brown, who was sent to Earth as punishment for a crime he committed on another planet. And it's basically just a sort of, I don't want to call it like a slice of life, but it's very happens over a very short period of time, and it's sort of just about him acclimating to Earth and learning how to trust and make friends. And I enjoyed it very much. I believe I gave it 4 or 5 stars. You'll notice that I really can't remember what I gave most of these books. Excuse me. Yeah, okay. Next, for my Read a Book in One Day, I read Matchless by Gregory Maguire. This is a retelling of the Little Match Girl. I always want to say the Little Matchstick Girl. So I don't know if I've ever read the original. I know basically the original, but I don't know if I've ever read it or if I just know it basically from, like, hearing other people talk about it or what. But anyway, so I did very much enjoy this. I believe I gave it 5 stars. I love the little drawings, illustrations. But it is a cute little story, and I like how he sort of did a mashup with other, like, fairy tale children's story tropey sort of things. But I really enjoyed it, and it says something here about it originally being it was originally written to be heard. It premiered on Christmas Day 2008 on National Public Radio's All Things Considered in a performance by the author. So I want to try to find that. See if I can find it online. I think that would be a fun Christmas tradition to listen to. Next, I read 4 Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough by Nitsake Shang. I apologize if I butchered that name. So this was my book for read a book about a character completely different from you. I knew nothing about this. Basically, it was originally written to be performed as spoken word with a multi character or actor performer thing. I'm not good at the talking today. So I did very much enjoy it. There were parts that really spoke to me. But I put a hold on a couple different visual versions of this. I think one is the Broadway version, and then I put a hold on Tyler Perry's adaptation. So I'm really curious to see Tyler Perry's version, because I like Tyler Perry's other movies. I'm interested in how exactly he went about adapting it, and I'm also interested in seeing a theater version, because I feel like I'm going to much more be able to appreciate the feeling and the meaning behind everything when I see and hear it. To like really hear the rhythm. I love spoken word, and trying to get that in my head doesn't work so well because I have no rhythm. And as I said, Spunk, which is selected short stories from Zora Neale Hurston. This is my second attempt at doing this video because I'm having so much trouble speaking today. And this is one of the books that I really had a hard time trying to explain my feelings about. I think that a few things lent itself to my inability to really explain. First of all, I think trying to read this during a readathon, I feel like I rushed through it a little bit, or even though it took me several days to read, because I only read a few short stories a day, I feel like I probably didn't put as much brain power into it as I could have. Second of all, even though Zora Neale Hurston is really amazing at writing the early 19th century Southern Black dialect in a way that somehow isn't too difficult to understand, I feel like it was still a lot of it all at once. And in short stories, and you're like just getting used to one set of characters and their personalities and how they speak, and then you're on to another set of characters and kind of have to get used to it all over again. I also feel like as a white woman in 2017, it's just, I can only go so far with trying to understand what that experience was like. So it's really difficult for me to relate and completely understand these experiences. Not that that means that I don't want to or that I shouldn't keep reading and learning, because I will and I want to, and I think that's important. So Zora wrote a lot about the relationship between black men and women at this time, which was like the 1940s, 50s, 60s. So that's definitely an interesting. It's an interesting relationship that she shows. She also, one of these is story in Harlem slang, and then after it she has a complete glossary, not complete, but complete for the story, glossary of Harlem slang. That was a really neat story that I enjoyed. And I think the second one, Isis, was my favorite. Yeah, that it's about a little girl being raised by her grandmother, and kind of, I guess, her grandmother's expectations for her behavior, and it was really, it was amusing, but also startling, I guess would be a good word, for how things end up. Yeah, so that was my favorite. Oh, and then also, in the foreword, it talks about how Zora Neale Hurston wrote a manuscript of over 400 pages about Herod the Great, and kind of our modern opinions on him because of things said about him in the Bible, but how that there's no other evidence that he was a like horrible baby killing ruler, and how, yeah, so it sounds amazing, but unfortunately the great majority of that manuscript was destroyed in a fire, and only about 100 pages are legible. So the last story in the book is a selection from that manuscript, and it just is a shame that was lost because it sounds fascinating. And the final book that I read was Lizard Radio, by Pat Schmatz, for Book You Bought Because of the Cover, and I loved this book. This is a very unique book, and I'm going to make a whole separate review. And I tried in my first attempt at this video to keep it, to kind of just do a short little explanation of this so that I can still do my separate review, and I don't think that's going to be possible because this book is just so unique, and I don't know how to do a short explanation. So I'm gonna read the front flap. Yeah. So 15-year-old Cavalli has never fit in. As a girl in boys' clothes, she is accepted by neither tribe, bullied by both. What are you? They ask. Abandoned as a baby wrapped in a t-shirt with an image of a lizard on the front, Cavalli found a home with nonconformist artist Sheila. Is it true what Sheila says, that Cavalli was left by a mysterious race of saurians, and that she'll one day save the world? Cavalli doesn't think so, but if it is true, Why has Sheila sent her off to crop camp? With its schedules and regs and what feels like indoctrination into a government, into a gov-controlled society, Cavalli isn't sure has good intentions. But life at crop camp isn't all bad. Cavalli loves being outdoors and working in the fields, and for the first time she has real friends. Sweet, innocent Rasta, loyal Emmett, fierce, quiet Nona, and then there's Sully. The feelings that explode inside Cavalli whenever Sully is near, whenever they touch, are unlike anything she's experienced, exhilarating and terrifying. But does Sully feel the same way? Between mysterious disappearances, tough questions from camp director Miss Machete, and weekly doses of kickshaw, the strange, drug-like morsel that Cavalli fears but has come to crave, things get more and more complicated. But Cavalli has an escape, her unique ability to channel and explore the power of her animal self. She has lizard radio. Will it be enough to save her? And so while that does kind of encapsulate the plot, it also completely doesn't. To call this a dystopian novel, which it kind of is completely missing so much. It's a summer camp story. It's a suspenseful story. It's I've never really read magical realism, but I would say it has elements of magical realism. Speculative, maybe? I don't know. It's not going to be for everyone. If you look on Goodreads, first of all, it has like less than 450 ratings, and I think it's like a 3.5. It's definitely not going to be for everyone. The first 3 chapters, I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. And then things started clarifying themselves. If you want to know exactly what is being said and what is meant in this in a book, don't pick this up, because like there's completely different words for things that are never fully explained, which is kind of expected for like a fantasy-ish, dystopian-ish. Like and some of them are really obvious, like gov is obviously government. But then there's other things like jazz. Like, I think jazz is like sexual behavior. Like, I think it's like flirting, making out, sort of stuffish. But it never comes out and says jazz means this. There's just complete, like in a way, there's almost like a complete language that's being used that is never completely, like there's no glossary. No character ever comes out and says, this means this. You're just sort of like floating through this world, following along with what is happening. I don't know how to explain it. I really enjoyed it. It was a really interesting experience to read this book. Yeah, so I'm gonna do another separate review to be able to go more into my thoughts. So those are the 6 books that I read completely. Okay, so I started A Great and Terrible Beauty last night, Sunday night, and I got about 50 pages in. This was my book with a person on the cover. So, obviously I did not read 7 books, and technically I only did 5. Did I say? I read 6 books. I completed 5 challenges because this was going to be my 7th book. But I'm really happy with, I mean, I read a lot of really short books, but I have read a lot of things that have been sitting on my TBR and on my shelves for a while. I enjoyed everything. There was nothing that I read that I was like, this was terrible and I want to get rid of it. Or this is really hard to get through. So I had tons of fun watching vlogs and participating in sprints. And I'm sorry that this video has taken me 20 minutes. But I like chatting. So yeah, so I'm going to hope to finish this today. Because it is a traveling book I'm doing with Julie from Pages and Pens and a few other people, and they've been waiting for a month. So I'm going to get through that as quickly as possible and move on. So I hope everyone had a great time. Let me know below if you've got videos that I haven't gotten to, because there's just so many people participating. So have a great week, and I will see you soon.